Hey friends, this is Chris, welcome back. So I want to have a chat with you about traveling in Vietnam. And as you know, if you're watching the channel, we just got back from Quoc, Vietnam. We're currently in Busan, Korea, and I can tell you, even much as I like Busan, and I do like Busan, I'm having a bit of Quoc, Vietnam withdrawals, meaning that I really miss it, and we've already talked about going back. I got a lot of questions during our travels, and I'm just taking some time to answer some of these. So the first question would be, if you're traveling to Vietnam, you know, which part should you go to? So we've been to Quoc, which you just saw. We've also been to Hoi An, Da Nang, Nha Trang, and also too, we used to live in Ho Chi Minh. Vietnam's a big place, so there are several other places you could visit as well, like if you want to head up to Hanoi, Ha Long Bay, those kind of places. We have not been there, so I have no comment on that. The Lot's another area people like to go. But I'll just comment on sort of Vietnam travel in general, and also to the places that we've been. First, Quoc's an interesting one because probably you don't need a visa. I say probably. I Googled, right, as an American citizen, I have a US passport. I Googled Vietnam travel and it said I needed a visa. And then I didn't think to Google Quoc in particular, where I don't think you need a visa, but rules could change in that. So your miles will vary. Just please check your particular country. Do you need a visa for Vietnam, or do you need a visa for Quoc? For example, my wife is Korean. They have different rules than, say, she has a Korean passport, so they have different rules for US passports. So that'd be the first thing. The second thing is, which kind of travel do you want? There are different ways you can think about it. So for some people, they will actually want to experience real Vietnamese culture. And that's an interesting question. What does that mean? Why do I say it that way? Because there are different types of Vietnam. There's the rural parts, then there's the city parts. So Ho Chi Minh is really, really different than if you go out into the countryside. You're gonna have tons of traffic, right, in Ho Chi Minh, or I like to say Saigon, that's the original name. They changed the name, if you guys don't know, after the war. But it's really different. You know, also too, the types of people that live there are very different, and you have multiple industries. When you go to, they say, countryside, you want to just live like locals, you may not necessarily have all the conveniences that you want, and it just depends on what you're looking for in travel, right? There's, like I said, there's different types of way to define what does it mean to be Vietnamese culture. Some people like to drive across the country. You can do that. There's like interesting, tourist sort of like trips where you can ride in a military jeep all the way across, or you can rent a motorbike all the way across, etc. We're older now, so I used to be a little bit more adventurous when I was younger. Now that I'm older, honestly, the Quoc was our first sort of like resort kind of trip. We've never really do that kind of thing before. But I told Yeji I don't want to walk that much. I'm tired of walking on vacation. Walking mean you want to see all the tourism sites, etc. The other thing too I want to mention with the Quoc thing, the resorts are pretty nice. If you watch their videos, you'll see yes, they're fantastic. But I want to caveat this: when you're choosing your particular, say, place that you want to stay, check what's around it, okay? And this goes to any kind of travel in this part of the world. So I'll give you an example of Krabi, Thailand. I think it's called Railay Bay, I want to say, but there's resorts that are like, fantastic out there, but you're trapped at the resort, meaning that all of your food and these kind of things are going to be there, and then they can jack up the prices on stuff. So when we looked at places to stay, I looked at places that had a lot of local restaurants around it, so that way we'd have eating options. Because it just happens, you get tired of eating the same hotel food every single day. Now, I will say though, me personally, I never really get tired of breakfast at hotels, just because they have so many choices, right? And it rotates a bit, but we search sort of like, how can I say, like the choices between hotels and then the local markets. And the local markets, not only was the food better, it was more appealing to go visit that kind of environment, right? So it was, you guys understand what I'm saying? It depends what you're looking for. The other thing too I want to mention is the differences when you're choosing places. Some of the places are not like the pictures, so definitely try to find as many reviews as you can. Read through these things, see how many people that give reviews, how many reviews that they've written. Because one of the big things that you'll find when you travel in Vietnam, it's fascinating. All of the hotel workers, and I've seen this in multiple hotels, they encourage you to leave a review on the hotel and mention their name in said review. For those of you who travel to Vietnam, you'll probably know exactly what I'm saying. It's just part of the culture, and I don't know, I just don't know, but I'm guessing that probably the workers, like when they go for a promotion or go for a pay, increase, etc., they probably say, hey, look at the reviews I have from customers and etc. So that was an interesting thing that I've never seen other than in Vietnam. The other thing too I want to mention with these kind of things is not just the hotel reviews. Prices go up and down on these things quite a lot, actually, because sometimes people ask, what's the name of the hotel that you guys are staying at. I'll just say this: there are many options around, and I'm not advertising promoting any particular hotels. We like the ones that we stayed at, but there are many choices, right? And go what makes sense for you. Go what the price makes sense for you, because again, it's a market. It literally changes. But the big things I'd be looking for is what's around the hotel. What you can do, you can actually go on Google Maps, and you can see. So find the location of the hotel, look at Google Maps, zoom out a bit, search for restaurants, cafes, spas, etc. That's what we did, and you can see what's around it, right? And then you'll get a sense of like, okay, is my hotel next to a lot of things, or is it next to nothing, sort of on its own? And they both have pros and cons. Some people want the villa experience, which is where essentially you have your own apartment at a resort, and then the cooks will come to your room and basically cook for you. So for some people that's ideal if you have a large family with you, right, and you don't necessarily want to be walking all over the place. One big concern though, if you do, like, say, for the villa thing versus like the big complex kind of thing for, say, hotel, is the time of year, and I'll refer to Phu Quoc in particular, but it does relate to all of Vietnam. Are you in the rain season or not, and what's the average temperature going to be? So for example, some of the hotels that we visited, they look fantastic in photo, they look fantastic in video, right? We even visited some of the said places, but because the buildings are all separate, it's not air conditioned all the way through. Meaning that, like, for breakfast, I gotta walk outside in the heat to go eat breakfast. For lunch, I gotta walk outside in the heat. You get the point of what I'm saying. For dinner, I gotta walk outside in the heat. And then when you get to said eating areas, they're also not air conditioned. So it's real, guys. It gets hot in Vietnam. I'm not saying anything shocking to you, but it matters, especially too also if the weather's not gonna be great and not on your side. So when we were there in Phu Quoc, we were actually really lucky. It was supposed to be rain season. It rained, like, I guess for 2 days before we arrived, and it rained like a day or two when we were there, and then it was like clear, and then we left and it started raining. So I guess the stars had aligned for us to have a nice trip. But do take this into consideration. My personal point of view on this stuff: I like air conditioning, especially in a place like Vietnam. I think it's important. Some people asked in the comments, what about English levels? Do I need to speak Vietnamese to enjoy there? So generally speaking, and this would be any country in the world, if you're at a major resort, they're all going to speak English, so you're going to be fine there. I will say though, part of experiencing the culture, and this sort of goes back to make sure, and just my opinion, make sure there's stuff around you for you to go see. It's fun to venture out a bit, but if it's your very, very first trip, it all depends on you, sort of like how adventurous you want to be. It's never a crazy thing to learn a bit of local language, pick up some sort of guidebook that has basic phrases, these kind of things. Learn the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? These kind of things. When we lived in Ho Chi Minh, we would speak Vietnamese a lot more. Don't want to get hit by a car here. And found it to be very useful. I live in Busan. I speak Korean, but I also speak Chinese, Japanese, and English, and obviously Korean. So I speak 4 languages, a bit of Vietnamese, but not really, honestly, not very much. We speak a lot more when you're there. You'll find too that the longer you're at a location, you'll start to recognize words a lot more, right? The other thing too is with Vietnamese, which is cool compared to other, well, not cool is the right word, I would say accessible, that's a good word, is that the writing is in Roman characters, right? So you don't have to worry about learning a new alphabet. The pronunciations are going to be different in some because they have accent marks on things, but anyway, when in doubt, just go visit. And also too, if language is the only thing holding you back from Vietnam, I would say you're probably not going to have any problem if you stick to the tourist areas. Now, regarding the tourist areas, we like Phu Quoc, but there are different parts of the island. We did not visit the northern part. That particular part, I think, is more heavily tourist areas, more popular. I think that's the Vinh area. We were at the southern part. I want to say it's Sun area. There's different development groups that are developing, and then we visited the more middle part. as well, which were smaller. But the place had a lot of tourist locations. Overall, it's a big tourist place. Positive or negative, right? I'll just leave it at that. It is what it is. And it's not exactly the real Vietnam. It's kind of like if you just go to USA and only visit Disneyland, right? Disneyland isn't exactly USA, but it doesn't mean it's not fun. It doesn't mean it's not pretty. I mean, Phu Quoc is extremely pretty. The same way is Hawaii part of USA. It is totally part of USA, but obviously Hawaii is not like the middle of the country. It's really different, right? It's an island, it's in the middle of the ocean. You got tropical plants and fruits and food. And I don't want to say anything. How can I say? I can't stress it enough. Like, I'm really feeling Vietnam withdrawal. I miss it quite a bit, actually. You know, we live in a nice place. You can see where we live. We live in Busan. You know, you can see it's clean. There's cities everywhere, etc. But you know, given the choice, you know, do you want to eat tropical fruit every morning? do you want to have to not worry about ever being cold, etc.? You know, for me that's fantastic. I hate cold weather. That's why we live in Busan. It's one of the warmer places in Korea. Jeju would be basically Hawaii. That would be even warmer, but it's not that practical. Which gets back to another point is as much as I like Phu Quoc or Vietnam as a whole, we have lived there. I enjoy living there, but it's hard to do it. It's hard to do it full time, mostly because everything depends on your particular situation. You know, it's the main ones are access to hospitals if you're older. If you think about, like, say, retiring there, because that's something that people do think about. It again depends on your situation. The other one is schools. If you have children, you got to think about, okay, where am my kids going to go to school? There are international schools in Vietnam, so you can do that. They're not going to be cheap. But there are international ones. That's probably your best bet opposing to try to send your kids to public school. And that's a whole other issue. And I doubt many people are really seriously considering thinking about that. If you're considering watching this video. The other thing too I'd mention about it is the food in Vietnam is fantastic. When you see the cost for yourself, you'll be like, this is crazy. Why am I, spending $20 for McDonald's in USA when I can spend, to say, for example, $2 or $3 or we'll say even $10. But $10 would be like a feast for fantastic food in Vietnam. Is like you'll get the sense of what I'm talking about. That's just one thing. It's hard, and it's not just Vietnam. It's much of Asia. It's hard to really explain until you see it, to where like the food is better, it's healthier, it's fresher, and you get more of it, and you get a great value. And then you have the menus are different, right? If you want to eat your hamburgers and stuff like that, you can get that kind of stuff. You totally can. But when you're there, you'll see it's like, would you rather a hamburger? And if you want to eat meat, or would you rather have a steak? And obviously, the average person would say, I'll take steak. The same way, like, you can get all sorts of fresh food, etc. So overall, if you're thinking about visiting Vietnam, I would say just go. There are other places in Asia to go, though. Thailand is very popular as well. Philippines is also popular. We're probably going to head to Bali on our next trip. We've been talking about that one. We went a while ago. Bali's pretty fun. We haven't been for years. I don't remember. I'm trying to think, maybe 10 years ago or something like that. And this is part of, like, when you get the travel bug, you'll want to keep going. And for those of you who travel, you know exactly what I'm saying. So I'm trying to think if there's any other questions or thoughts that you guys have been asking me about Vietnam. I'll also say too, by the time you watch this video, it could be a year from now or 2 years from now. Who knows? There'll probably be all kinds of new hotels there in Phu Quoc. They're building like crazy, and this seems to be a focus of the region there, because the government again made it sort of visa-free and encouraging growth there because it stimulates the economy. So we'll see. At the moment, the tourism is largely Korean nationals. I asked the workers, and I guess Koreans are the number one. But then after that, it's interesting. Some of the workers were saying that people from, like, I want to say it was like Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan. It was like the smaller countries around Russia. Tour through there, I guess, because maybe flights are easier there. And this depends as well, like what your access is there, because for example, here from Busan, we can fly direct to Vietnam, so it's really easy for us to get there. And then we're talking about Bali, because they're now having new direct flights from Busan to Bali, which I think start in September, so that's about 2 months from now. So we're already pretty excited for that. And you guys know this, for those who have flown, flying direct is way better than doing like a 3-hour layover or whatever, and just it lengthens your trip considerably, and so it just makes it way more comfortable to get there. So please share any questions that you guys have. I'll try to answer some more. It takes time for me to work this stuff out, and I'm already missing there and want to go back, talk about Vietnam and Phu Quoc. But the world's a big place, and there's always places to visit. So thanks for watching, everyone, and catch you all in the next video.